We are talking about red flags in relationships. What are the things that you need to pay attention to? I'm going to give you 5 signs. Get out your pen and paper. And so this is going to apply to all parts of our life, at work and at home and personally. So that you can apply this to, who should you hire, choosing in terms of a partner, with your friend group, even in terms of, just when you're kind of like making and meeting new people, what are the things you should be really paying attention to? 5 red flags. So if we haven't met, my name is Dr. Karyn. I've been doing this work for over 25 years. Started with families. Now we work with global organizations and really help business leaders in terms of making decisions. But this topic around red flags in relationships, you can apply to all parts of your life. All right. So let's dive in, get out your pen and paper. And by no means, this is not an exhaustive list. These are just 5 things I really encourage all of us to really pay attention to. If you haven't grabbed your copy, this is my book, The 3 Chairs, How Great Leaders Drive Communication, Performance, and Engagement. And I'll be talking a lot around the different kind of qualities of these 3 different chairs as we're diving into the red flags. Obviously, the goal is for us to all kind of sit in that middle chair and attract and hire people also in that middle chair. But a lot of these red flags I'm going to be talking about are really referencing about people that actions that people do in the left chair and the right chair, the insecure and the arrogant mindset. That middle chair is that confident mindset. So you haven't picked up your copy, make sure you pick it up, called The 3 Chairs. Okay. First one I want to talk about is one that you might not have thought of before. But it's one I see all the time, and that is a mismatch on values. It is really important when you, and I do this whole section in the book on decision making, it is really important when we're kind of a leader, a great confident leader in that middle chair, that you are choosing, your clarity of your values, and you are choosing and making decisions according to your values. And so the same goes for in terms of hiring. You want to make sure that you are hiring people according to your values, both at work, but also in your romantic relationships and also in your friend group. You want to make sure that what are my core values, and am I choosing people in my life that lines up to those values? And this is an exercise just this week, for example, on the family side, I've been having a lot of clients actually identify what are the kind of core values that they are actually looking for in their friendship, and looking in terms of their scope of people that they actually have in their life, and what their values are. Do they have friends that are in alignment with that? So I've been doing that on the family side. On the work side, I've been working with a lot of HR that they have identified in terms of what their core values are as a company, and making sure that they're hiring according to those values. And so it's a red flag if your values and the people you're surrounding yourself with, there's a mismatch. What's going to happen is you're going to be really frustrated all the time. And so you want to make sure that there's an alignment of values. And so that's the first one, is if you have a mismatch around the values that are important to you, that is something you really pay attention to. Number 2 is blame. Okay, so the second big red flag is blame. And so I talk about this in the book. And actually, it's interesting. The next kind of 4 are really actually around communication. So red flags. So person in that right chair is that they tend to blame. They tend to blame things on other people. This is going to be a red flag, because what's going to happen is you can't resolve problems. We're going to have issues all the time in our team, in our families, in our personal life. We're going to have problems are just part of life. So we're not going to get rid of them. But when we really want to kind of lean in and really have thriving relationships, thriving families, thriving organizations, we really want to make sure that we are in a culture where we can really resolve issues. And so that second red flag is that when you raise a topic, is the person going to lean in and actually try to problem solve it, or actually they blame? So people that blame other people, that's a massive red flag. Number 3, this is a really big one. And for me, this is a deal breaker. And a lot of these actually, I think for a lot of us, would be kind of deal breakers. People who do not apologize. So again, you're raising an issue. So whether or not, it's in the work environment or in the personal side, what often happens, and we see this in the left and the right chair, it tends to happen a little bit more in that right chair. Sometimes it happens in that left chair as well, but certainly people in that right chair, what they do is they just don't apologize. So they don't apologize. They will change the topic. They will excuse it, give context, give reasons, without simply saying, I'm sorry. If you want to salvage any kind of relationship, you want to learn to say, I am sorry. Not I'm sorry if, I'm sorry that, dot, dot, dot. And so this is a really, really, really big red flag you want to pay attention to. If you're kind of thinking about hiring a certain person, you're thinking about, looking at maybe a romantic relationship, can the person say, I'm sorry? If they can't, then you want to really pay attention to whether or not that is a good fit for you, because again, every dynamic, any relationship is going to have issues. You want to make sure that you are creating a really healthy system so that when people disappoint each other, because disappointment is going to happen in all relationships. We are not looking for perfection. We are looking for health. And so it is really, really important that people are able to say, I am sorry, and that can initiate and take ownership for their behavior. Really, really important. Fourth one is, and this is like an obvious one, I think for most of us, another big red flag is dishonesty. If there's one thing I have learned over and over again in my 20 years of practice, is the importance around healthy communication. Healthy communication. I talk about this in the book. People who met middle of the chair, they're able to kind of raise a topic, lean in, try to solve it, problem solve it, hopefully in about 10 or 15 minutes. That's kind of the goal. If, though, we are dealing with dishonesty, people are withholding information, they're lying to protect themselves, that is a massive red flag. And so you want to really pay attention to that. Again, if you're kind of making decisions around who to hire, or who you want to be with in a romantic relationship, or actually in a peer group. So these are things you really want to pay attention to. And if you like this content, you want to make sure for sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do lots of free videos to really equip everybody, inspire and equip them. And also we have a wonderful scorecard, a leadership scorecard, to kind of go into this a lot more detail about what does really health look like. And so if you would like to receive that, it's free. Just below, type in health, and somebody from our team will actually send that out to you. But that's a really great one-pager. It's a scorecard on really helping you assess your overall leadership, emotional intelligence, that unpack all of this. Because really what we want is we want to really learn what are those kind of core skills of how do we learn to sit in that middle chair so we can be a great, confident leader at work and actually at home. So that is a great free resource for you that you can actually sign up. Okay. And then the fifth one, which is really common, and if you remember what I said earlier, that it's interesting, of these red flags, 4 to the 5 are all related to communication. The fifth one is passive aggressive. Passive aggressive is a massive red flag. So this tends to happen a little bit more in the left chair. So people in that left chair, passive aggressive is like the clinical term, but the layman's term is basically it's backstabbing. So if I'm upset with you, I'm not going to go talk to you. I'm going to go talk to a third party. So we call it passive aggressive. Another word for it is called triangulation. It is really toxic because it now is involving other people that have nothing to do with the issue. It's creating a war zone. It creates a lot of drama. And so if there is a big red flag, that is another big red flag, is passive aggressive. And that tends to be more in this. And so again, it's interesting, right? 4 to the 5 red flags that I'd be encouraging all of us to really pay attention to are around communication, which is why I want you to get the scorecard, because their one whole section is around communication. And so you want to really make sure when you're, one of the wonderful things about being an adult and is life is around choice. We can choose who we want to hire. We can choose who we want to choose as our romantic partner. We can choose our peer group. And so I just encourage all of us to get really clear around what does health look like? What does health look like in our relationships? And to be aware, these are red flags. These are things to pay attention to. And if we see these red flags, it's like a little referee that's going like this. We want to stop, pause, and really lean into it, and possibly really kind of course correct it. So those are just be 5 of the ones that I would be encouraging for a lot of us to kind of think about. But I encourage you to also make a list. What are the red flags in your life that are things that are like boundaries that you want to be really careful of when you're making hires, or and also in terms of for your relationships, what are your red flags? Get clear on that so that when you are meeting people and you are expanding your circle, you have clarity in terms of what you are looking for as well. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have other topics you would like us to tackle, make sure you actually put that down in the comments as well, because that's actually how we get our suggestions for all of our videos. Hope you've enjoyed, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you on one of our next videos. Make sure you check out a lot of the other videos that we have here on YouTube.